So easy because all you have to do is mud the fish and put it in the coals. And when the clay is baked and the clay is hard, then your fish is ready.
Where'd you get the clay?
We got the clay just from the hillsides here. There's some road cuts that you could see up in the mountains. You'll see the red dirt in the road cuts.
You have some up behind your house. Is it?
Yeah, it's the same things. Yeah, it's the same things. And we just gather it. We use it for pottery. We used it for the mud ovens in the kitchen area over there in the other part of the camp. And it works great to make a container, which is actually what we're doing with this, for something that you'd like to bake, like a fish or a rabbit or whatever it is, a roast of some sort, something that you might like to bake. So the clay actually makes your container, and then you bake it in the coals. And everything inside stays nice and tender and moist, and it works out really well. So what I'm doing right now is I have this clay that we already gathered and brought here in the bucket, and I'm just had some water in here, and I'm just going to mix it up until I get a good mixture, different things like that. I'm pulling some of the rocks out of this clay right now because I just don't want it to have too many rocks in it. It'll make me harder for me to put it around the fish and for it to bake. Right now we're getting ready to cook this fish, and what I have to do first is create a container for this fish. So I'm going to use this piece of cottonwood bark here, and I love to use cottonwood bark for everything, and I'm going to use this as my platter for my fish. And to create the container, I'm going to use some of the clay that I was mixing up before, just gotten from the hills over here, to create a container to put my fish in. The first thing I'm going to do is take my slab of bark, and I'm going to put my clay on the bottom of it because I want to create a bed for whatever I'm going to be cooking. Today it's a fish, but it could be a rabbit or a roast or anything else that you might like to cook that you might need to create a container for. So we're going to go ahead and put the mud on the bottom. Anybody who wants to get their hands dirty? You want to get your hands dirty? Okay. There you go. Just fatten it out. It's going to make a nice big platter for our fish. We'll make believe like we're making a plate for it. Okay, that's probably good right there. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to use some type of greens to wrap the fish in so that we can make sure that the clay and what we use for a platter won't get onto our meal. So one of the things that people can use at home if they don't have any wild foods nothing big enough that they could wrap around it is a head of lettuce. This is a head of lettuce. Mustard greens work really well, or anything that you might be able to find in the grocery store that has a really big leaf like this. And so the first thing that we do is we start wrapping the fish in this material, and I just like to lay it out on my bed. Just pull these off and you can just lay them out here. And this morning we gathered some dock and some different types of leaves here, and we can use these too to put on the bottom. And we want to keep a little bit of clay around the edges showing because we want to make sure that our container is completely sealed all the way around. So that's probably good enough for the bottom. Put a couple more leaves right here like that. Okay. And then certainly, I'll tell you when we can put some leaves on the top. Okay, here's our fish, and we're just going to take our fish and we're going to lay it right in the middle of the bed that we made with the greens. And then we're going to season it with some of the herbs that we picked this morning. We have some wild mustard that we're going to put on it here. We're just going to pick off some of these wild mustard leaves, and let's just put some on there. I also have some mint leaves we're going to put on that fish too. And here, just break those off and put it on top. And then we're going to cut up a lemon and squeeze some lemon juice on that. And stick some on the fish, right? And stick some lemon slices. We're just going to stick some lemon slices right inside of our fish. You want to stick a lemon slice inside the fish?
Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
I'll put some.
Just stick it right in there. There we go. He looks good, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. And we squeeze some lemon juice on top. We're going to put a little bit of watercress on it too. We'll give it a little bit of a peppery flavor. And there we go. Now what we're going to do is cover the fish up a little bit, and I'm going to put some of these greens on it. Let's take some of these and put some of these greens we gathered this morning. We have some dock leaves, we've got some, there's a piece of plantain, good job, and some goosefoot. We're going to just wrap them all in there. This is a nice big dock leaf we can put on the top of it. The bigger the leaves, the better for this. Okay, you want to have a lot of greens. The greens will help keep in the moisture, so our meal is actually getting steamed. And these are some really big goosefoot leaves, and they work really well. And so we kind of want to move that around the fish so that the greens are kind of contained right around the fish. Okay, that looks good. You can't have too many greens. Okay. That's good. Okay, now what we're going to do is go ahead and cover it with the mud. And we want to put on, usually I like to put on at least a couple of inches of mud over the top of it. And the mud holds the heat in really well. Go ahead, you can
I
start.
see some fish.
You see some fish? Wait a minute. If we see some fish, we don't want to see some fish. Did you see some fish?
I think it's just the
Yeah, it might be just the leaves. Yeah, we'll make sure by putting this big dock leaf right around here so the fish can't peek out. Okay? Don't want the fish to peek out. There you go. Okay, now we can start putting the mud on top. Nice. There we go. Okay. Wipe our hands off, and that's ready to go into the fire.
That's why we're doing it.
Okay, are we ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
Move it in there.
Yep, we're going to move this.
Okay. Slide it on in.
Okay.
Can you do it?
I think so.
There you go. That's fine. Okay.
Slide our container into the fire.
If it's on the animal, it'll get that sheen also.
Okay.
And
Let me just get in there real quick with it.
We're going to move this out of the flames to start with.
Ooh, that thing gets sharp on the bottom. That hardly ever happens.
Really? Hopefully the fish isn't like stuck to it.
Well, it's probably not.
Yeah.
That's a good sign, Denise. There's still a little bit of moisture.
A little bit of moisture in there, yeah.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of, we put a lot of greens in it. It's usually kind of, will keep it from being too bad.
Clay is fired.
The clay is, yeah, the clay is probably fired.
It's hard.
We're going to open up our mud fish right now. And as you can see, the container that we made is almost like a piece of pottery now. It's almost fired up. And we just remove the clay from all around the fish. And then take our fish right out. And if we remove the, right here we can see, oops, remove the greens from the fish, we have a perfectly done fish.
You
With
gonna
the
eat
herbs
them
still
greens?
on it, yeah, we're gonna eat them. All done. Probably might not all come up at the same. It's very, very tender, so it might not all come up into the plate. I'll just send right here.
A budding actress there in the red.
That's fact. She's
Oops.
going to be your next survival queen.
Yeah.
There we go. Get the fish right in there. There we go.
That looks beautiful.
Yeah. And the greens are good to eat
Yeah,
too.
you'll
You
like
can
that,
probably
though.
eat the greens.
I like that.
You're like
Does
that.
it have a hair in it?
Probably no hair in this one.
That is really good.
Looks
You
like
have
it
to
came
try
out
some.
just right.
It is perfectly cooked. It's tender, juicy. And you can taste the different flavors of the greens that are in there, and you can also taste the lemon. It's delicious. It is really good. I can see why the native people would cook like this. Really good.
There's a lot of satisfaction in being able to prepare your own meal from nature like that and use the things that are in the area that you live in. So we really enjoy it.
Well, we really enjoy having you, and we really appreciate all that you've done for us. Thank you very much for being here, and thank
a
you
lot
to
of fun.
Joe. Come on in here, Joe. Come on
where's
in
my
here.
fish?
Come on in. You can have some fish too. Have some fish. Thank
Oh,
you so
yeah.
much for everything.
Let me taste this here.
And Mike and Julie, you want to have some fish?
Is that good?
That's disgusting.
It has a hair in it.
No,
That would be mine.
it's actually really well. It's actually really well cooked. Very nice,
It's
very
cooked
good.
all the way through,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
it's still moist. It's delicious.
Okay, give somebody else a try.
No. This is
He's gonna eat the whole fish.
Oh, that's
Come
not
on
over,
in here.
Michael, maybe
Hey,
Jesse
come on in
Michael,
here.
maybe
Bring
Jesse would
Jesse
like
in here too.
Jess, have some fish,
You want
buddy.
some? You want some? Jesse, you want to try some?
Never feed them with.
No. Here, you want some? You take some.
There you go.
What do you think about that? Meat. Here, Jesse. You can take that. There you go. You got some meat.
Oh,
Oh, Jesse. Jesse likes that. You want some?
I already have.
You already had some? What about you?
Michael will eat it.
We love the Ebel family. They're so interesting, and we're so lucky to have them in our world. So thank you all for all of your contributions to this video. You're wonderful people. And you out there, if you ever have a chance to visit Salmon, Idaho, you can visit this family at Salmon Outdoor School, or you can visit the Sacagawea Center where they are on the weekends.
And we'd
Thanks.
like to have you.
That's right. Thanks for joining us in this volume of Cave Cooking.